Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Proline, the longest-running sports handicapping show in America. I'm John Cranton in Las Vegas, joined by Jeff Saad, who runs Las Vegas Sports Services. Going to take a look at some NBA teams that are the best of the West, the Big Four in the West. That's also going to tie in to another game we're going to look at, which is Thursday's big showdown between San Antonio and Oklahoma City. First, we're also going to take a look at some spread trends and who to look at over or under the total and some of those Big Four weaknesses. First, Jeff, you're off that dynamite college basketball run in March, 18-8 in NCAA tournament play, and you had a very good start to the NBA season on Monday.
Well, good start to the MLB season.
MLB season, right.
I was 4-0. Right. I was 4-0 on Monday, 2-0 in the NBA, and 2-0 in Major League Baseball. Right now, you're going to get the entire month of April. That's going to be NBA, baseball, plus the Final Four in the NCAA tournament and the title game, all for a total of only $25. Just call LVSS at 1-866-575-8916. That's the entire month. It's going to be, of course, it's going to include the beginning of the NBA playoffs, plus college basketball and all of baseball. $25. Call LVSS 1-866-575-8916.
All right, and reminding you that Mr. Vegas is off a high roller wipeout winner with Kentucky in the Final Four, or the Elite Eight, and he also has his Final Four game on tap at jimfeist.com. Plus, if you want to get the rest of baseball in April and basketball for $19, just call his office as 1-866-896-1627. All right, let's take a look at the Big Four in the Western Conference, which has really had some strong talent and teams this season. You got the Spurs, Thunder, the Clippers, and the Rockets competing for the 1 to 4 seeds right now. And, of course, Jeff, the San Antonio Spurs are the hottest team we've seen in quite a while. How do they shape up?
Well, I think they learned a lesson last year. Remember last year during the regular season, they had a Thursday night nationally televised game against the Miami Heat, and Popovich inexplicably rested his starters. He got fined $250,000 by the league for doing that. Also, it was a ridiculous strategic move because look what happened. That game was a big factor in the Spurs not getting the best record in the league, and they had in the NBA Finals they have to go to Miami up 3-2, and of course they lose the last two games on the road. So I think this year they're not going to slow down. They're going to go full bore for that top record in the league this year, so that they're not going to be a go-against team very often the rest of the season. They beat Indiana by 26 points on the road Monday night. They beat Denver by 31 on the road. They have 9 players averaging at least 18 minutes per game, which has a lot to do with the Spurs 8-3 against the spread mark. The last 11 games playing with no rest. So right now they're 3 games up for the best record in the league, and I don't see them slowing down much. And I would not go against this team. I'll be very careful going against this team the rest of the season, John.
Yeah, they certainly got healthy and have tremendous depth and utilize it. Also, keep in mind, as good as they are defensively, when they allow 100 points or more in a game, they're tremendous against the spread. The next game, 37-18 and 1 ATS. All right, I'm going to take a look at the second-place team right now in the West. That's the Oklahoma City Thunder. And this team really has it all. They've got depth, they've got role players, they've got star power, they've got balance. And you can see that with their home-road breakdown, which is one thing to look at when you analyze these NBA teams. Great at home, as many teams are, 31-7, but they've won twice as many games on the road as they've lost, a 23-12 start away from home, which is very impressive. An underrated defensive team. We all know about how great their offense is. 5th in the NBA in scoring, 6th in rebounds. They're also number 2 in free throws, which is a sizzling 80%. So if a game is close, you can't hack-a-shack this team. And their defense, too, is surprisingly under the radar. They allow 0.43% shooting defensively. That's number 3 in the entire NBA, and it's tops in the West. We know about the star power, but I'm going to talk about the role players that they have. Serge Ibaka, kind of been a role player in the past, but he's kind of blossoming as a star now. 15 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, 2.59 blocks. They have a couple of guys, a young Reggie Jackson, a point guard, 23-year-old kid, 13.3 points per game. They have a veteran player they picked up in Caron Butler, who has been injured, but he's starting to play now, and he's playing pretty well for a 34-year-old guy, over 10 points per game. He had a big game against Denver when he was 3 of 7 from long range and 10 of 19 from the field. The Oklahoma City Thunder are on a hot run, particularly at home, 5-1-2 against the spread, and their defense, which I mentioned earlier, very good at home, 5-1 under the total at home. They had a big win Sunday over Utah, absolutely blew them out. And it was significant because Durant topped 25 points. He had 31 points, 9 assists. But that's a 38th straight game that he's had more than 25 points. He's within 2 now of Michael Jordan's record, which is set back in the 86-87 season. We're going to see him on tap Thursday against the San Antonio Spurs. I wonder if they'll try and double and triple team him to stop that record. Probably not, although they'll be more interested in a victory. And finally, this defense is just so impressive. I can see a team like this. I really don't see any weaknesses. So I think they deserve to be the number 1 or 2 seed in the West. I don't see them faltering at all down the stretch, and I think they are a legitimate contender to make it back to the NBA Finals where they were just 2 years ago. All right, Jeff, the team that's in the number 3 position is the LA Clippers. Tremendous offense, but do they have the defense and experience to make a postseason run?
Well, 2 years ago they lost in the first round to Memphis in the playoffs, and they thought the problem was they didn't have enough depth. Last year they got more depth, but then they lost in the second round. They got swept by the Spurs. This team is like open. They play a wide open offense during the regular season, more finesse style. But when the playoffs come, it's more physical, more half court slow down, and they can't seem to handle that very well, and that's going to be the question going into this year's playoffs. They're 42-32 against the spread overall. They're undervalued on the road, where they're 24-14 against the spread. They lead the lead with 107.6 points per game. But as I said, that might not mean much come playoff time because they're going to have to adjust a little, at least to the playoff style basketball, because and when that comes, when you're playing a team best of 7, it's a whole different ball game. So that's going to be the problem with the Clippers. They have the talent, there's no question about that, but I'm not sure if they can go far in the playoffs for the same reasons that they didn't go far the last couple of years, John.
Yeah, I like the defensive improvement that the new coach, Doc Rivers, has brought to the team. But the one area of weaknesses that I see with them, which could be huge in the postseason, is free throws. They're awful, 26 in the NBA. And this is a team that's flamed out in recent playoffs, particularly last year when they were bounced in the first round. And I could see, wouldn't be surprised if that's happened again. Another team that is just awful from the free throw line is the Houston Rockets. They're currently in the number 4 position, but I'm down on this team. First of all, look at the home road breakdown. Great at home, 29-8, but not that great on the road, 20-15. I think that's a result of defense not being outstanding. Teams that aren't great on defense can have problems on the road. And here's a team that dealing with injury concerns right now. The big one is Dwight Howard resting his ankle for a week. So it's hard to see this team getting better in the standings in the competitive West without him. And then the point guard, Pat Beverly, got some good news on his knee this week, but he still has a torn meniscus, and that's a concern. And then the free throws I mentioned. Boy, this team is just awful. 29th in the NBA in free throw shooting, and that's what happens wherever Dwight Howard goes. He brings the free throw numbers down. Just to put it in perspective, his career free throw numbers, 57%. Well, he's worse this year, 55%. So at age 28, he should be in his prime. No, he's getting worse from the line. And that's something that is detrimental to teams. I remember when they went to the finals against the Lakers, boy, his free throw shooting was terrible. And then when they got to the Eastern Conference Finals the next year, they were home. They were favored against Boston, yet they fell behind 3-0. It wasn't just Howard. The team was terrible in close games and free throw lines, which put them in that hole. Don't overlook free throw shooting, particularly in the postseason when you're likely to have a lot of close games. These are 2 weaknesses that the Clippers and the Rockets in particular have, which could hurt them. And finally, their defense isn't that bad as far as field goal shooting defense, but other than Howard, there's really no stoppers on the team. And one of the guys that they used recently is Chandler Parsons. He's 25 years old. He's 6'9", so he's a big guy in the front court who can be thrown at other teams' big scorers. But they tried that last week against Kevin Durant. Durant torched him for 42 points. So there's really no defensive stoppers that this team can rely on, and it may not rear its head during the regular season, but will be a concern, I think, in the postseason. Houston Rockets currently on a 1-4 ATS run on the road. They're also on a 7-1 run over the total as they look to run and gun at teams and sometimes play lax defense. All right, we're going to take a look at the Thursday game between the Thunder and the Spurs. But first, if you want to get free plays sent right to your cell phone every day, get them from Dave Koken. Just text Koken to 313131. If you want to get them from Jim Feist, just text WINNER, WINNER, to 313131. All right, Jeff, on Thursday, we have a showdown between two of the teams that we just talked about. The Spurs are playing at the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's been a 3-game sweep thus far for Oklahoma City. How do things shape up for a Thursday showdown where the home team is well rested?
Well, that's it. Oklahoma City, we have 3 days off, and Spurs will play Wednesday night against Golden State. But who wants to go against the Spurs right now? It's like going in front of a train. It's just not something that looks too appetizing right now. But one thing, and also in Spurs' favor, it's triple revenge. Oklahoma City has won all 3 contests this year, and I don't think the Spurs want to win the playoffs with an 0-4 record. And it's going to be a psychological disadvantage. So this game will probably be the line will probably be very close, probably Thunder, maybe 1 or 2. But this would be one game for me that I probably would lay off. Although it should be a great game, but from a handicapping standpoint, you don't want to put your money on something that just because it's going to be a great game, you want to bet it. So I would, at this point, as we're doing the show right now, I'll probably lay off this game, John.
The last 2 meetings between these teams have gone over the total. And when you look at all 3 meetings, the first one did go under. It was 94-88. Oklahoma City won at home. Well, in fact, total was 202, and it went way under. Serge Ibaka stepped up that game with 17 points, 11 rebounds, 5 blocks, and San Antonio only shot 39%. The next game was at San Antonio, 113-100 victory by Oklahoma City as a dog, and it went over the total of 208. Westbrook went crazy with 31 points, and Oklahoma City shot 49%. And then the more recent game in January, Oklahoma City shot 54%. In fact, both teams were over 53% as it was a high-scoring game. So even without some of their best players, Oklahoma City has dominated the season series. I will look at Thursday's games as being like the first meeting, more defensive. I think the Spurs defense has just been phenomenal during this winning streak that they've had, simply because they're healthy and they focus on defense as well as being so good offensively. And the Spurs are going to be in the second of a back-to-back spot. When they're in that spot, they're 6-1 under the total. So it might be more of a defensive game than some of the odds makers think, and maybe even the betting public and the television viewers who probably want to see a high-scoring game. All right, let's tell everybody what we have going on for the week. Mr. Vegas is off that high roller wipeout winner with Kentucky. He has another one that's available online right now at jimfeist.com. Plus, if you want to get the rest of April, baseball and NBA playoffs, as well as the Final Four this weekend for $19. Just call his offices 1-866-896-1627. He enjoyed his top play on Monday. It was a total on the Phillies-Texas game over, and it certainly did sail over at 14-10. Jeff, you've been enjoying a terrific run in March, 18-8 in NCAA tournament play, and a very good baseball Monday with a couple of underdog winners.
Yeah, and you're going to get the whole month of April, the entire month. It's going to be NBA. And that's going to include the first 2 weeks of NBA playoffs. You're going to get the college basketball, the Final Four, the title game, and all of baseball for a grand total of just $25. Just call LVSS 1-866-575-8916, 1-866-575-8916.
And Jim Feist enjoyed a sizzling March as well, a perfect 7-0 with his tournament games of the year, and a 28-15 run with inner circle releases. He has a special going. You can play through Monday, so that's going to include the college basketball this weekend. Just call his offices 1-866-841-1655. Baseball is here, folks. Make sure you take advantage with these Vegas pros. Get on board, and we'll see you next week with another edition of Pro Line.